Thank you very much, Honorable Vice President, uh, Ashwini ji, Suman ji, Dr. N.K. Singh, dignitaries in the hall, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure and honor to welcome you all, and especially at a time when the world is fragmented into different pieces, something which brings cohesion and sensibility and sensitivity to the subject as deep as climate change, which we are all faced with, is nothing but very full of pleasure and honor, because this brings forward that policy needs to be executed. And this forum makes us believe that whatever we dream of is a possibility. Honorable Vice President's presence here also is indicative of the fact that Government of India lays very, very deep emphasis on climate change, policy of cohesive governance, policy that brings partnerships together, and is not based on the processes of coercion, but these are processes which are based on the availability of partnerships and the like-minded working together kind of engagement. So engagements which can bring positivities, engagements which can actually bring the change that world which is broken into pieces is very much looking forward. So it is a basically forward, progressive looking platform which brings various stakeholders which are independently working across the globe, but there is no forum which brings them all together. So it's basically to break the silos. And those silos could exist in finance, those silos could exist in tech, those silos could exist in thought. So all leaderships need a common platform where the action gets to be implemented. So thought, action, and implementation needs to be provided as a single unit for any change that needs to take place in the world, is given its due deferential treatment, which is so very important. I must say the dignitaries and multiple stakeholders which are present today have actually given us that benefit of their intellectual capacity and capabilities, and executing those plans will further assuage the pain that Mother Earth has gone over a period of time. And that is so very relevant in today's time and age, while there are all kinds of fears which exist, but climate change is the biggest danger which exists for so many of our brethren and sisters across the globe. And we are just trying to create this movement through this BCF, which was created only last year, 1 year ago. And this happens to be the second edition of Bharat Climate Forum. And the changes which we have seen within 1 year, that the policies need to get implemented. They cannot just remain in the idiom of think tanks, and thus the people who are going to implement very much need to be participants. And this participation also brings the warmth and right connectivity amongst all of us. So domestic capability, capacity, self-reliance are few things which India has worked at, and I'm sure what we have been able to achieve or work, the world gets to be benefited by that. And the technology, which is top-of-the-line technology, at the same time, it doesn't have to be expensive. Climate change formulas, which need not be so complicated that world finds it difficult to implement those processes. Coercion, no way. It has to be about partnerships and right-thinking people who have to come along. And thus, this forum offers an opportunity to create one whole in a world which is fragmented due to various reasons. And those regions and reasons need to find a bridge. And it is that bridge which India has to offer. And Bharat Climate Forum, in true sense, represents what India thinks. What India thinks is being a bridge. And I always maintain this, that when you look at India from its position in geographical position on the map, you know we are a country of the East by virtue of our civilizational values. And we are, through our democratic principles and our institutional framework, we are a country of the West. We are a country of the North by virtue of being the fourth largest economy, but we are as much a country of the South because we have 1.3 billion people to look after. So India is, that centrist position is what the country holds, and that particular thought and philosophy is what gets to be represented through BCF also. The Bharat Climate Forum is one such platform which shares the global agenda with our national responsibilities so that the damage which has happened to Mother Earth can somehow be corrected, and we have the right policy which has the developmental agenda of the ones who got left behind, and also the progressive agenda that we do not further the damage which has already taken place. With these words, I welcome you all and look forward to all the interactions through the day, and will be present. And again, thank you very much, sir, for being present here. The Honorable Vice President's presence, once again, I welcome him, and it underscores that polity and policy of Government of India is absolutely clear so far as partnerships on right forum needs to be built and bridges need to be made rather than the world be fragmented into various pieces. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Ma'am, before you sit, may I request others also to join and formally welcome Honorable Vice President. So this is special black pottery, which is loved by our Honorable Prime Minister. This is a traditional art from Rajasthan. So as BCF, we try to inculcate many of the Indian arts. So this is a live sketch made by one of our friends, Sakshi. Sakshi, can you stand up and wave your hand? Thank you, Sakshi. Thank you very much. So with this, may I now request Mr. N.K. Singh, he is chairman of Bharat Climate Forum, to give his chairman's remarks.
Honorable Vice President of India, distinguished members, excellencies, Ashwini Mahajanji, the President of the Bharat Climate Forum, Meenakshi Lekhiji, the convener of the Bharat Climate Forum, organizers, colleagues, and friends. As a chair of the Bharat Climate Forum, I am privileged to be able to speak on this occasion on the broad theme, from India to the world, climate solutions that work. That's the theme of today's conference. Let me begin by saying it was just a few weeks ago that we concluded the deliberations of the COP30 in Belém. Therefore, this is an appropriate moment in many ways to ponder what has been done, what remains unresolved, and what should countries like India hope to be able to do so. It is no-brainer that, as Meenakshi rightly pointed out, there are serious problems of implementation, finance, and institutional coordination. It is these gaps on which I want to make a few observations. First, let me talk of COP30. COP30, as we know, reaffirmed the centrality of the Paris framework. Doesn't matter if some countries do not find it of interest, including a transition path and carbon markets under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. However, the most consequential issue of finance remained vastly unaddressed. Developed countries have reiterated, for God knows, all of us know how long, the 100 billion, which was then raised to 200, now 300 billion, in an element where countries have to make their voluntary contribution in a new quantified mechanism. But this remains more in spirit than actual implementation. Being part of the proceedings of the reports given by Lord Nicholas Stern, Veera Songwe, and Amar, each year they have calculated the amount of finances which are needed, close to $1.3 billion a year, and the loss and damage fund, which was operationalized after a number of deliberations, has scarcely taken off. So there are billions and billions to be covered. At the same time, the dilution and withdrawal of engagement by some important developed countries has introduced new uncertainties. However, this cannot obscure the irreversible reality of what Meenakshi ji very rightly pointed out, that climate poses this existential risk. So that is my first observation. The second, against this global backdrop, let us examine the Indian context. India is particularly vulnerable to climate shocks. Over 40% of our population is dependent on agriculture. More than 700 kilometers of coastline are exposed to sea levels which rise and to extreme weather. The economic implications are significant. Estimates suggest that without effective adaptation and mitigation, climate impact would reduce India's GDP by 25% by 2070. International agencies have estimated that 100 billion in heat-induced productivity losses for India. In this context, India's commitment to net zero by 2070 is a strategic foresight. It's not a concession, and one that entails difficult trade-offs. India's per capita emissions remain a fraction of the advanced economies, yet our absolute energy demand will continue to grow as incomes rise, urbanization accelerates, and electricity demand alone may double by 2040. Third, the transition challenge must be understood in this context of this reality. It's not merely adding renewable energy, but more the restructuring of the energy systems to accommodate the rising demands while steadily reducing energy emission intensity. India has now installed non-fossil fuel capacity of exceeding 200 gigawatts. Our ambition has been further reinforced, but the initiative which was mentioned just now on the Bharat Clean Climate Manufacturing Platform, which was launched at the first event of this Bharat Climate Forum. One of the most significant recent moves has been the Shanti Act. It reforms India's stagnating nuclear governance framework. It supports the deployment of small modular reactors and indigenous sector designs. However, issues of uranium, cost of uranium, mining of uranium, and the import dependence and the cost of this import dependence would need to be addressed, because that could retard the progress of fully embracing the capabilities unleashed by the Shanti Act. At the same time, we now know that grid congestion has forced power distribution companies to often curtail the solar output in peak hours. Variable renewables alone cannot anchor stability. The real challenge, therefore, is synchronizing fuel security with nuclear and faster grid decongestion and transmission upgrades. Thus, solar and nuclear can complement each other to our benefit. As you transition away from fossil fuel, it has fiscal implications. Coal remains a significant source of revenue, both for the center and the states. A disorderly transition risks destabilizing public finances and, more important, sub-national budgets. Carbon markets have been proposed as part of the solution. A Properly designed, they can certainly lower the cost of abatement and attract investment. Improperly designed, they risk becoming instruments of arbitrage than transformation. Fourth, on the institutional dimension, in India, climate action is a federal issue. It's a federal country, but states widely differ in their fiscal capacity, their institutional readiness, and the exposure to climate risk. Climate governance has remained dispersed, as Meenakshi very rightly pointed out, and I'm glad she emphasized this, spread over multiple missions, multiple ministries, and multiple jurisdictions. The recent amendment of the Electricity Bill in 2025 strengthens the role of state regulators. It demonstrates the importance of institutional clarity in translating national objectives to state-level outcomes. There is a growing case for more cohesive institutional framework, which Meenakshi very rightly pointed out, one that aligns incentives with responsibilities and financing across government. This is not an argument for centralization. It's an argument for coordination, predictability, and clarity, but it may well entail the risks, the unintended policy consequences, the risks of underperforming. Finally, on finance, which remains the most binding constraint across dimensions and across the climate transition. The reform of the multilateral development banks was examined during India's presidency, which we know. I was privileged to chair the committee on the reforms of the multilateral development system. It was received a great acclaim in Marrakesh, accepting the recommendations under India's G20 presidency of that time. A central focus would be to expand the quality of finance. Traditionally, we know that the financial architecture globally has relied on two instruments, the IBRD and the IDA. They are, we know, no longer sufficient to meet the needs of our climate and development challenges. It is in this context that the recommendations accepted suggested a third window which could mobilize capital for philanthropic sources, sovereign climate wealth funds, and institutional investors, pension funds. This is an important road to proceed. Such a window could also deploy guarantees, hybrid capital, blended finance, and pooled risk vehicles. The launch of COP30 of Global Meteorao has reinforced this approach, recognizing the potential role of philanthropy. At the same time, the issues of debt must be addressed with care. Developing countries, particularly smaller developing countries, are at grave risks of debt crisis. Several economies are spending over 10% of government revenues on debt servicing alone. Climate finance must avoid the risk of a new debt trap. Let me conclude with a broader reflection. COP30 has reinforced the simple truth. Climate action is not constrained by the absence of ideas. It is constrained by execution, by institutional capacity, and by finance. Bridging these gaps require discipline, not rhetoric. India will continue to engage constructively in the global climate process, advocating equity, realism, and credibility. At the same time, we will continue to act domestically while recognizing that resilience and transition are essential to sustaining growth and protecting environmental gains. As Elinor Ostrom, the first woman to receive the Nobel Prize, had said, and I quote, "No single solution exists for environmental challenges and problems. The challenge that I have outlined pretty briefly is embedded in opportunities. There's a clear path ahead. The Climate Forum, which we have gathered here today, is not only about challenges, but more importantly, about opportunities. The journey before us is not only the administration and the aspiration of a Viksit Bharat, but we are conscious of our global obligations to become a net contributor to societal good addressing an issue which has existential importance to mankind, India has led and will continue to lead, guided by our ethos, our Vasudev Kutumbhava. The world is one family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. As always, there is a lot of clarity when he speaks, and it gives us, really good shape to build our thought process. Now, may I request Dr. Ashwini Mahajan. He is President of Bharat Climate Forum, National Co-Convener, Swadeshi Jagran Manch, and a very crucial member of CIU's governing body. Mr. Ashwini Mahajan, please.
Honorable Vice President of India, respected Meenakshi Lekhi ji, respected N.K. Singh ji, my dear friend Sumant Sinha ji, His Highness Muhammad Nasheed ji, former President of Republic of Maldives, Mr. Selvan Hart from UN, distinguished ministers, excellencies, leaders from industry, finance, academia, and civil society, brothers and sisters in the room. Very warm welcome to all of you. It's a matter of great honor for us that the Honorable Vice President of India has joined us today at the inaugural of the Bharat Climate Forum 2026. Your presence lends not only dignity to this event, but also reinforces the importance of aligning India's development vision with long-term sustainability and national resilience. At a time when the world is grappling with the economic uncertainties, geopolitical fragmentation, and accelerating climate risks, India stands at a unique and historic inflection point. The choices we make today will determine not only our environmental future, but also our economic sovereignty, technological leadership, and social stability. It was precisely this realization that led to the establishment of Bharat Climate Forum in 2025. This forum was created as India's national platform to align climate action with economic strategy. From the very beginning, our belief was clear: climate action in India cannot be treated as an external obligation or a cost imposed by global negotiations. It must instead be understood as a central pillar of India's growth ambition. We don't take it as only a challenge, we also take it as an opportunity, as N.K. Singh ji rightly pointed out. This is the principle of Swadeshi and Atmanirbhar Bharat, which has become more relevant and essential today. As I come from Swadeshi Jagran Manch, Swadeshi at its core is about national capability, dignity, and domestic production and economic self-rule. In today's context, it also means strategic resilience. In a world where clean technologies, critical minerals, and advanced manufacturing are becoming an instrument of geopolitical power, excessive reliance on imports is a vulnerability India cannot afford. Climate technologies today are what oil and semiconductors were in earlier eras. Atmanirbhar Bharat is therefore not about isolation. It's about building strength at home so that India can engage the world from a position of confidence and capability. And this brings me to the heart of our work, clean tech manufacturing. As was mentioned earlier, that after the Bharat Climate Forum 2025, Honorable Prime Minister of India had announced a manufacturing mission of which clean tech manufacturing was a major part. BCF was inaugurated in January 2025. It marked a decisive beginning. It brought together senior ministers, policymakers, industry leaders, financiers, experts around a shared objective: Make in India, climate solution that work for India and the world. We are not just for making India. Expanding this agenda, we are now in the world of adaptation and resilience. As we enter BCF 2026, we are acutely aware that manufacturing alone is not enough. India is among the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. Floods, heat waves, air pollution, water stress, and extreme weather events are already impacting productivity, livelihood, and public health. Over 80% of India's population lives in districts exposed to high climate risk. Climate shocks today are not the future scenarios. They are present-day economic disruptors. This is why BCF 2026 expands its focus to embed adaptation and resilience into India's growth model. Honorable Vice President Ji, at the closing, I would say, as we look ahead, the task before us is very clear. Scale clean tech manufacturing with speed and quality, build resilient systems that protect growth and people, mobilize long-term capital aligned with national priorities, invest in skills, innovation, and institutional capacity, and ensure that climate action strengthens rather than constrains India's economic rise. Let us move forward with confidence, cooperation, and commitment to build a Viksit, resilient, and climate-secure Bharat. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahajan. So with this, we request Honorable Vice President to formally launch a blueprint for India's clean tech manufacturing ambition. This is for accelerating an Swadeshi, Green, and Viksit Bharat. May I have the reports, please? So the instructions given to us was that there should be a Swadeshi blueprint with a year-to-year with policy interventions and technological innovations, how we can build a Swadeshi ecosystem in India. So big shout out to Jagjit Sareen. His team has delivered this blueprint, and which is formally being launched here by our Honorable Vice President. So with this, now may I request Honorable Vice President to please come forward and give us his margdarshan. Thank you. Please rise. Thank you.
I touch and salute the holy feet of Bharat Mata, the most powerful and the most merciful. Chairman and the Bharat Climate Forum, former MP Rajya Sabha, Shriman N.K. Singh Ji, convener of Bharat Climate Forum, former minister in Government of India, and my good friend for a long time, Srimati Meenakshi Lekhi Ji, co-chair Bharat Climate Forum, Sri Suman Singha Ji, President of Bharat Climate Forum, Dr. Ashwini Mahajan Ji, my dear brothers and sisters from various countries and from India, my very good morning to all of you. I commend this Council for International Economic Understanding for developing this forum as a national platform for serious reflection and purposeful action on one of the most defining challenges of our time. Yes, one side, lot of developments are coming. When there is a plus, there will be always a minus. When developments are at a faster speed, the pollution also will go up. We have to control and protect the environment for the future. When we gather to discuss climate and development, it is important to remember that India's engagement with these questions is neither recent nor reactive. Long before sustainability became a contemporary concern, Indian thought stressed on harmony between human activity and the natural world. In simple and enduring terms, it is said in my mother tongue Tamil, இயற்கையோடு இசைந்து வளர்ச்சி. That is, இயற்கையோடு இசைந்து வாழ். That means development that grows in harmony with the nature. We have to live with the nature. That is our ancestors' words, which I want to remind that we have to protect the environment. From water conservation systems, such as step wells, tanks, and rainwater harvesting, to sustainable agricultural practices guided by seasonal cycles, biodiversity preservation, and minimal resource extraction. India's civilizational ethos has long promoted balance and restraint. Philosophies such as Prakriti is scared and the principles of Avarigraha, non-attachment, offer timeless guidance for sustainable living. The more materialistic pleasure we go towards, the society moving towards, then the more extraction of the natural resources. And we have to leave something for the future generation. We are not the only generation want to live and die. We want the future generation to live so that humanity sustains on the earth. These enduring practices remind us that the climate solutions are not only technological, but also cultural and ethical, drawing strength from wisdom refined over centuries by our elders. Our development journey in the past decade also has been shaped by the search for balance between growth and equity, between aspiration and restraint, and between present needs and the future responsibility. We have to understand this. Under the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Sriman Narendra Modi ji, India has fundamentally redefined how a developing nation approaches climate responsibility too. India's Panjamrit goals, as announced by our Honorable Prime Minister at COP26, reflect our holistic and resolute commitment to climate action rooted in equity and sustainability. These pledges chart a clear pathway towards a low-carbon future. With a target of meeting 50% of our energy requirements from renewable sources, the goal of achieving net zero emission by 2070. He has announced the target also, zero carbon by 2070. That is a great commitment. And that will be an exemplary target that the world has to follow, thereby reaffirming India's development priorities while reinforcing our responsibility to future generations. For us, climate action is not a constraint on development, it is a strategic opportunity too. An opportunity to build new industries, create high-quality jobs, strengthen energy security, and position India as a global manufacturing and innovation hub. We have shown the world that the climate action and national development are not opposing goals, but mutually reinforcing missions. The vision of a Viksit Bharat by 2047 and a net zero Bharat are not two separate goals. It has to get implemented simultaneously. They are deeply interconnected. Equally important is our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi's emphasis on equity and inclusion. Through initiatives like Lifestyle for Environment, he has reminded the world that sustainability is not only about technology, but also about the values and the behavior of humanity. As someone who has spent many years in public life, engaging closely with the people and the institutions across the country, I have seen how environmental stress directly affects economic opportunity and human dignity. I have also seen how thoughtful policy, local innovation, and community participation can restore stability and confidence. A developed India cannot be built on imported technologies, fragile supply chains, or outdated energy systems alone. It must be built on homegrown, clean technologies, resilient manufacturing, and future-ready workforce. This is where clean tech manufacturing becomes central to our national mission. By developing clean technologies domestically, we achieve multiple national objectives at once, and we also unlock export opportunities in rapidly growing global clean energy markets. Across renewable energy, energy storage, green hydrogen, electric mobility, sustainable materials, climate smart agriculture, and digital climate solutions, India is no longer just a market, India is becoming a maker. And whatever the innovation of India, that should be useful for the rest of the world and mankind. The Make in India movement, when aligned with the climate ambition, transforms into something even more powerful. Make it India for the world. The technology should not be localized, and the technology should not be left with few hands. The technology, the modern technology, should be given to the rest of the world. This is how climate action becomes an engine of economic growth, not a cost to be managed. We are already seeing encouraging momentum. Indian companies, large and small, are investing in solar modules, battery manufacturing, EV components, electrolyzers, and green fuels. Startups are innovating across climate data, efficiency, and waste management. At the same time, a Swadeshi approach does not diminish the importance of global partnerships. Not everything can be invented by a particular community or a particular nation. Whatever we invent, that should be shared between us, so the sustainability of the world becomes more relevant and more easy. Climate change is a sad challenge, and no nation can address it alone. India's approach to global partnership is one of the collaboration without dependence and openness without vulnerability. As the following force behind the International Solar Alliance, India has helped mobilize countries of the global south around affordable, scalable solar solutions, increasing the energy access while reducing emissions. India's leadership of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure underscores a forward-looking approach to sustainable climate response, strengthening infrastructure systems to withstand climate-induced shocks and safeguard development gains. Together, ISA and CDRI demonstrate India's commitment to practical, inclusive, and solutions-oriented climate leadership that delivers shared global benefits. By also strengthening domestic foundations, we engage the world from a position of confidence. As you deliberate during this forum, I encourage you to focus on solutions that are practical, scalable, affordable, and grounded in India's realities. Let ambition be matched by implementation and vision by perseverance. Let us remember the truly Viksit Bharat will be one that grows with sustainability and Atmanirbharta as it is core. I wish the Bharat Climate Forum 2026 every success, and I am sure whatever the interactions and the debates that will bring a great awareness for the humanity. I commend all of you for your commitment to shaping a sustainable future, not only for one single country, but for the entire humanity. Jai Hind, long live Mother Bharat. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice President. This was a really great insight from him. Now, I quickly request Suman Sinha ji, he's chairman of Renew and co-chair of Bharat Climate Forum, propose a vote of thanks.
Honorable Vice President of India, sir, thank you so much for coming and gracing this occasion. My fellow colleagues from the Bharat Climate Forum, friends who are here today, I would say that this is something that is now happening for the second year, the Bharat Climate Forum. It was started last year. It's taken a lot of effort from a lot of people to put it together, but I think it's a very important endeavor. And the reason is, as has been stated today, climate, of course, is a very important aspect. I think I'll quote the Honorable Vice President when he said that development has to be done in harmony with nature. I think that is very important. We need both development and we need the harmony with nature as well. Honorable Vice President also reminded us about the Honorable Prime Minister's concept of life, which is a lifestyle for the environment, which I think all of us have to espouse. But along with that, as we move forward in terms of hard realities, we also have to look at things like our energy security, our development, and so on. And as a country, we have set up very clear targets of 2047 to become a Viksit Bharat country, and also to essentially get by 2070 to net zero. Honorable Vice President talked about how these have to coexist with each other, how they actually feed into each other as well. And I think that is something that is very important for all of us to deliberate on over the course of this session today. There are many things that were discussed earlier today by all my colleagues on the dais, and I won't go into the details because time is short, but I think fundamentally there is a lot of opportunity in this whole evolution of trying to take India forward on a clean basis, on a clean energy basis, and dealing with the environmental and the climate change consequences as well. We have a lot to do. There are, of course, many challenges as well, but I think in all of that, I am personally very excited that there's a lot for us to accomplish. I think India has the opportunity not only of following a path that is quite remarkable and quite unique, because no other country has followed a development path that is going to be as low carbon as India is going to follow. And that also therefore allows us to become a beacon for other emerging market countries that are going to follow down the same path. So I think it's a very important endeavor that India is focused on right now. And I think all the conversations and deliberations that happened today and over the course of the year, I think are going to be very important in helping shape policy in India and helping give corporates like us a direction as to which way we have to go to move forward. The last word from my side is that I think the team of the Bharat Climate Forum has done an enormous job of putting together the clean tech manufacturing document, which is now very close to becoming a policy of the Indian government, which was, of course, announced in the budget last year. And it is something that I think will encourage the development of a manufacturing ecosystem in the country, which the government, through its fairly enlightened policies, has been pushing forward over the last several years, and which is why we now have the development of a solar manufacturing industry that is happening in India. And I think all of that, therefore, feeds into not just our development as a country, our energy security, but also our evolution in terms of our own energy security. Thank you. Let me use this last opportunity to thank our Honorable Vice President to come again and gracing this occasion. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. I'd like to thank all of you for being here today, and I'd like to thank the team from Bharat Climate Forum for having done a terrific job. Thank you all.